Welcome everyone to today's information session. My name is Abby York. I work for the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative, or ELTI, at the Yale School of the Environment. So this is obviously the information session for the year-long certificate program, which offers a unique opportunity for environmental professionals worldwide to connect with the Yale School of the Environment, develop concrete skills, advance their careers, and explore science and solutions related to tropical land management from many different perspectives. I'm joined today by my colleagues Jillian Bloomfield and Emmy Nicholson, who I'll pass it over to now to introduce themselves. Jillian, if you'd like to say hello.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see so many international people listening in, and what a wonderful experience to get to hear the perspectives of our past participants. So I'm on the team here at LT, Associate Director of Online Programs, and really looking forward to getting to know all of you all, from prospective participants to those of you who enroll in the program.
Thanks. And Emmy?
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all. And my name is Emmy Nicholson. I'm the Online Training Associate for LT, and I also work really heavily in the Tropical Forest Landscapes, or TFL, certificate program. So really excited to talk about it with you all today.
Great, thank you. And again, I'm Abby York. I'm the Online Program Administrator here at ELTI, primarily dealing with admissions and tuition payments. So if you have any questions, we'll get to those later on. So just some minor housekeeping things ahead of time too before we introduce our panelists. This session, if you do need to pop out at any time, will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel. We will have a brief period of time for some Q&A, so if you have any questions at any point for our panelists about their experience or anything else related to the program, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the Zoom webinar system. And again, if you have not already, we encourage you to submit your answers to the poll. Again, we'll share those at the end. And we're really excited to learn where you are at in the process in considering TFL. So now to our panelists, we are really excited to be joined by these three current and past participants who have come to help share their perspectives and how they approach the practical project elements of the program. So today we have with us Alexia Leon. She is a current participant of the 2024-2025 Tropical Forest Landscape Program. She is the co-director of Leonmarcial Arquitectos based in Lima, Peru. Additionally, we have Angelina Serwaa. She is a past participant from the 2023-24 cohort. During the program, she was working as a forest range manager with the Ghana Forestry Commission, and she is now a current Master of Environmental Management student at the Yale School of the Environment. And lastly, we have with us Adrian Watson. Adrian is actually from the same cohort as Angelina, and he works as a technical officer for REDD+ in climate change with the government of Jamaica Forestry Department, and he is the CEO of Honai Apiary, which is based in Kingston, Jamaica. So with that, I think we will get started here with our presentation. Just bear with me one moment. So for the agenda, we have split this into four sections. We have our program overview, the participant panel, the Q&A session, and for the last 5 or so minutes, we'll go through with how to apply. Now for the program overview, I'd like to turn it over to Emmy Nicholson to get us started.
Great, Abby. Thank you so much. So welcome, everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about how the program is structured. And with Abby, could I ask you to move to the next slide? Excellent. So welcome. So this is a information session for the Tropical Forest Landscapes Conservation, Restoration, and Sustainable Use Online Certificate Program. A bit of a mouthful, but we call it the TFL program. Next, please. So over the course of this program, we'll have you interact with 4 courses, each about 8 weeks long. With one, we start with fundamentals, going through ecological and social concepts, as well as in week 2, we then talk about the people, focusing more in on the social, human dimensions and engagement. With strategies, we're going to then look more into the land use planning and implementation. What are some tools in the various geographies and contexts that you may be working in? And we end with funding, thinking about the financial concepts and tools and various sources of funding that may be applied to a project that you want to work on. Thinking about that, we also have the Capstone project, and during the 4 courses and in a 10-month period, you'll be working towards designing a conservation or restoration project of your choice. This could be something that's a little hypothetical, something you're thinking about, a project you work on for work, a project you're very directly connected to, could be something very personal to you. But we think about how can we incorporate all of these learnings into designing this capstone project. We also have an optional aspect of the program, which is a field course. Here we would look at conservation and restoration in practice at one of the ELTI landscapes that we'll talk a little bit about later in this presentation, but really good experience that many of our students have had positive experiences with. But when we think about this program, we think about a high-touch online program. High-touch meaning that's very interactive. Although it is in an online space, we really focus a lot on how we engage with each other in that space, the professors, us, your mentors, as well as your fellow peers, and thinking about how are we managing tropical forest landscapes over these 10 months. And this is designed to be a part-time program. We think about 6 hours per week for most of our participants to focus on this course. So it is meant to be while you are working full-time, or while you may be doing studies, or while you may be thinking about your project. It's really meant to be a flexible program, and the full program is offered in the English language as well. But who is this program for, and who may we be looking at in this audience today? So we've had a wide variety of professionals from governments, private industry, NGOs, working on project design and landscape management. We've even had staff members or other people from foundations, businesses, aid agencies. In addition, there's also been the academic side, whether you are a lecturer, a grad student, maybe even a recent graduate, just kind of looking to supplement your knowledge, or maybe you are on the ground, you're a landowner, a farmer, rancher, community organizer, looking to enhance some of the management opportunities within your communities. And over this time of the program, we've had over 400 participants from over 280 organizations, all interested in learning how to design, implement, and monitor conservation and restoration initiatives. And you can see really here in this graph that the participant sectors have been pretty divided or split, or even coming from this wide variety of backgrounds. So that's something that we really look forward to having and seeing all the different perspectives that come into this program. All right. So what might you do in a given week? Well, there's the educational content in some of our courses where you go through readings, videos, interactive presentations, and case studies, thinking about some of the topics that may be applicable to your project and tropical forest landscapes management and conservation. But we also look forward to this interaction and feedback aspect. Through live sessions, discussion boards, peer-to-peer exchange, and expert review from many of our instructors, we really look forward to kind of digging deeper into what you personally are working on. And then how do you apply some of that knowledge? Through self-reflections, guided exercise, as well as thinking about your personal capstone project, you really are able to take some of the resources here and then put them into practice in your landscape, in your experiences. With the optional field course, we have this really wonderful opportunity to see these practices in person. Here we have an example on the left from a certificate program participants visiting farm-managed mixed agroforestry systems in Brazil. Here in the center, certificate program participants meeting with representatives of a local government unit in the Philippines, as well as here on the right, participants learning by doing, preparing for tree planting in Panama. So just three different here landscapes and experiences of what you can be doing, what you can be learning, and who you can be meeting with following the program. Many of our participants actively seek out this program to gain a variety of benefits, but really also to gain this holistic perspective and practical skills, receive support and guidance along the way to receive feedback in their programs, their projects, and their learning, and build these skills through this applied capstone project. So once again, taking that theory to practice. But after the program, we've received a lot of different feedback on where people want to go and where do people end up. So participants have put what they learned into action, whether they're planning initiatives at that landscape level, into implementing new practices, developing a comprehensive monitoring framework, created a funding proposal, thinking more holistically and critically about conservation, developed participatory approaches to stakeholder engagement, and even recognizing bias and critical issues in social justice within their landscapes, communities, and environments. 93% of our program graduates surveyed did report that they've already made changes to landscape management and practices or approaches within the work that they're doing, whether at the landscape or in their organization. This is just a quote from another one of our participants who graduated in the 2023 program. The knowledge and skills that I acquired from the certificate program make me confident and well-equipped to undertake my role as a restoration practitioner. I received amazing mentorship, established incredible new networks, and deepened my understanding of topics highly relevant to my work managing the restoration of 10,000 hectares of degraded landscapes in Tana Delta, Kenya. And with this, I think I'll pass this off to Abby to talk a little bit more about tuition and other numbers.
Great, thanks, Emmy. All right, so getting into some costs for the certificate program. So tuition for the 2025-26 course is $7,500 and includes 4 8-week online courses in the 10-month Capstone project, unlimited access to all online course materials, support from mentors throughout the program, face-to-face online interaction with experts, and personalized expert advice on your coursework. As Emmy mentioned, for the optional field component, there is additional tuition. So tuition for the 2025 field course is $2,500, and this includes a 1-week immersion experience in the tropics, as well as in-country ground transportation, food, lodging, course materials, instructors, and site visits for the duration of the course. For both components of tuition, there are scholarships available on a competitive basis. So first, we have our partial scholarships. These range from 25 to 75% off of your tuition fee. In order to apply to the scholarship, you need to complete the scholarship application section within the main application. For each award type, so leadership and impact, career development, and the general award, there is a short essay. You can apply to as many categories as you think are applicable to your work and your experience. Any admission decisions are made independent of scholarship requests. In addition to our partial scholarships, we also are fortunate to be able to offer the 3 Cairns Fellowship. So this is fully sponsored online tuition for individuals working on climate solutions in the Global South. In order to be eligible for this award type, you would need to have primary citizenship from a country within the Global South, have professional or academic experience relevant to climate solutions, and actively be working on climate solution implementation. Again, you would need to apply to this fellowship in the main application, and any admission decisions are made independent of any fellowship requests. To go through a couple important dates before we get into our participant panel, of course, at this point, we are past February 3rd, so applications are open. They will remain open until March 28th. By April 25th, you will receive your admission decision. And then in terms of enrolling, March 16th is the deadline to enroll. Your first tuition payment is due on May 30th, and then the program will officially begin on July 21st. So that's what we have for kind of my details, and now I would like to get into the participant panel. So at this point, I would like to turn things over to Jillian to have the panelists introduce themselves and then also share more about the Capstone project a little later on.
Great. Thank you so much, Emmy and Abby, for sharing about the program overall. And then now we're very excited to get to the highlight of our information session, a chance to hear from current and past participants themselves. So we're going to divide the panel into 3 different parts. I'll ask you all some questions about your background and your overall insights about the program as a whole. Then I'll call on you all 3 again to talk more specifically about the Capstone project, and then we'll open it up for the questions and answers. Again, if you have questions that come up, please put them in the Q&A feature, and we'll ask them to our panel or see how we can address your questions. So our first panelist is Alexia Leon, co-director of Leonmarcial Arquitectos based in Lima, Peru. So Alexia, we'd love to hear from you a bit about yourself, your experience in the program so far as a current participant, and if you could think of a #1 insight for prospective applicants, what would that be? So take it away, Alexia.
Thanks, Gillian and Navy and Amy. And hello to the future applicants. I'm an architect working as co-director of Leonmarcial Arquitectos, a studio with Lucho Marcial. Our practice is based in Lima, Peru. For the past 6 years, we have focused, in addition to our design practice in housing, cultural infrastructure, and urban planning, on supporting Mestizo and native Quechua communities of the Mayo River, specifically in climate change adaptation, in community infrastructure design, and especially trying to strengthen Quechua knowledge systems through mapping with leaders across living spaces. So my interest in community networks in San Martin region linked to the secondary forest land management started in 2017 when I was on the Adults Master Program at Universidad Católica, focusing on territorial approach and sustainable community development. And I did my research at La Rio Mayo that was co-produced with Mayo leaders. We focus on mapping new notions of territory and landscape from the ground, walking with people. So we had a rich baseline of the historical ecology of this place attached to native organic agroforestry Quechua systems linked to food. But the ELTI program arrived at the perfect moment when I realized that these specific interventions will not be sustainable without integrating them into a forest landscape restoration approach. No, that is the ELTI program approach. So I needed particular skills that I completely lacked. I am not a scientist, I'm an architect. I look at different programs and I was amazed by how comprehensive the 5 courses structure was, very, very friendly. And the fundamentals course for me gave me valuable insights into tropical forest ecology, which was entirely new. And now I understand how to explore disturbance and regeneration processes in greater depth at different scales. The program also invites you to engage your critical thinking skills through collaborative sessions, peer reflections, and creative assignments that were super useful for us. I substantially improved my understanding of equitable decision-making processes and the importance of connecting our riparian restoration project to the priority of indigenous Quechua self-determination. Additionally, the political ecology tools provided me with practical solutions for addressing conflicts at local and regional scales. That is very, very difficult. The stakeholder assignments significantly clarify potential partnership and long-term project success for us. It connected community leaders with NGOs, academic institutions, indigenous funds, state agencies. So it was great. And this experience helped us envision how Quechua knowledge could enhance public policies within a broader environmental network. So about the strategies course, It's very culture based, so provided to us interventions very tailored to a specific farmer's motivations. That was really great. Strategies first is amazing, connecting theory and practice. So our situation model is now more precise, more understandable. We learn how to prioritize targets, identify threats. However, it remains a work in progress. We are in the 7th month of the course. So for the first time, for me, the ELTI program allowed integration of my design practice with agroecology. Thank you so much. Fundamentally shaping my approach to design in tropical dry forests in Andean Amazonia. I am thankful to have been part of the ELTI program for the past 7 months. What I can say, I encourage you to embrace the opportunity to learn, from a variety of perspectives through amazing classmates and very thoughtful teachers. These real practitioners really bring sincere motivations that truly enrich the learning journey and help me discover my voice in what was a whole new environment for me. So thank you very much, Jillian, Avi, and Annie.
Thank you, Alexia, and for the walkthrough the whole program. And it's always so inspiring to hear from you all and how you're actively putting in practice right now. Our next panelist is Angelina Serwaa. She was a forest range manager with the Ghana Forestry Commission and is now an environmental management student at the Yale School of the Environment. Similar to Alexia, Angelina, could you share a bit about yourself, your experience during the program, and a #1 piece of advice for potential applicants?
Yeah, thank you, Jillian. I'm honored to be here today. So I am Angelina Serwaa from Ghana, and then I was part of the 2023-2024 cohort. And then, as Jillian mentioned, I'm currently a first-year Master of Environmental Management scholar specializing in ecosystem management and conservation at the Yale School of Environment. Also, I'm a teaching fellow in the strategy course. And so I'm very sure that myself and Alexia probably must have exchanged something. So I have a background in natural resource management. I started my career as a project environmental education officer on the Green Livelihood Alliance project by an NGO, a conservation NGO in Ghana, Arusha, Ghana. They do a lot of great work when it comes to conservation. So I worked also with the Ghana Forestry Commission as a range manager and was involved in the conservation and management of protected areas, especially areas that are classified as globally significant biodiversity areas. So these are key biodiversity areas. In my role, I contributed to floral assessments, monitored mining activities in protected areas, and then manage wildfire risk, and then also supported biodiversity offset programs. Now, biodiversity offset programs were not very common. It was something that the Commission was starting anew with businesses. So when I say businesses, they were involving mining companies in conservation activities. So now this biodiversity offset program was the main reason for my application to the ELTI online year-long certificate program in tropical forest landscape restoration and sustainable use. Now, at the time, FC, the Forestry Commission, had begun involving mining companies in conservation projects to offset, specifically was to offset the damage caused in forest areas in another similar key biodiversity areas. Now, the project necessitated the development of management plans for those specific offset areas. And this project was also spearheaded by my department, the Environmental Conservation Department of the Resource Management Support Center. RMSC. It's a technical wing of the Forestry Commission. That's where I worked as a forest range manager. So I saw this as an opportunity to upgrade myself in terms of knowledge and also to stand the chance of contributing to the process meaningfully, while also leveraging on other potential opportunities for further studies. And I think that's the more reason why I'm here now. And then also, luckily for me, this is how I got into the program. I met a lady called Rita Ifa, who also doubled as an alum of my former school, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, and then also a Yale School of Environment alumni. And at a lunch with her, she shared with me the application links because I've been talking to her about this, about the offset program. And so she said, oh, I know of a program that would benefit you. And so she shared with me the application link. And then that's how I joined the 2023-2024 cohort. I must say that the strategy course was invaluable for me, providing practical interventions for specific landscape restoration projects. You will have real life situation restoration projects being presented to you in the program when you are finally in. And so you would learn a lot when it comes to strategies and then various interventions. And then I must admit that I am honored. So Amy talked about the scholarships, and then I must admit that I am honored to have benefited from the 3K scholarship twice. That's during the ELTI Online Certificate Program and my Carrot Master's program at Yale. So I would say that my number one insight for prospective participants would be that do not fret over anything. Do not stress so much. Everything will be fine. One thing I didn't do at my time was to collaborate on capstone projects. So for me, my number one insight for you would be to collaborate with your colleagues and work in groups on your capstone projects. This will go a long way to help you because I'm thinking that you will be balancing work and studies. And so collaborating with others can help you manage your time more efficiently and while also providing the opportunities for you to expand your professional networks. Yeah.
Thank you, Angelina. And also need to hear about Rita, who was an LT student fellow years ago in like 2012. She played a big role in our tropical restoration library and now is doing just really amazing work with the African Development Bank. So yeah, nice to hear her name too, and the power of connecting different people, those of you who have gone through the program with prospective applicants. So now we'll hear from Adrian Watson. Adrian's a technical officer for Red Plus and climate change with the government of Jamaica's Forestry Department and CEO of Honeybee's Apiary in Kingston, Jamaica. And Adrian, I'll extend the same questions to you. So tell us a bit about yourself, your experience in the program and after, and your number one piece of advice for prospective students.
Hi, Jillian. Thanks for having me. So very quickly, some of my experience. Sorry, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. Yes, that's where it is. Sorry about that. I'm also attending an event for the Forestry Department, and I'm right in the lobby. So a part of my experience is that I've had more than 50 years of youth leadership, getting young advocates to actually engage with environmental sector because I came from a community that has been degraded by urban expansion. So we experience things like poor air quality, poor water quality issues because it's a low income community. And so that got me started in the environmental field to go and study geography as an undergraduate, geography and zoology as an undergraduate. And then fast forwarding, leading the Caribbean Youth Environment Network to expand their membership in Jamaica to get more young people involved in lobbying, policy making, and then coming up with practical projects on the ground that young people and low income communities like mine can get involved with. And then fast forwarding to doing a master's in conservation and land management. But then I felt like I wanted to specialize in an area that was a lot more effective at combating climate change. And then my grandmother's ancestral home in St. Anne has been affected by bauxite mining, hence the need for forestry. So I gravitated towards there. And then having applied to LT in the first year, but then couldn't afford, even with the scholarship, couldn't afford to take on the program. So finally, the stars aligned. I got some funding along with the scholarship to be able to participate. So my project focused on beekeeping, using my own business as a vehicle to drive change. And so because I established it as a social enterprise, I needed to build up a forestry section in it. Because bees are pollinators and they depend on the fauna and the other fauna and flora within the forest ecosystem. And so I focus a lot of my capstone around expanding the forestry side of my beekeeping business and the social outreach side. And so the experts on the course, the lecturers, even Gillian herself, would have been able to give you some feedback. The team here is excellent. I I bothered them right throughout the year. At one point, I thought they were getting tired of it, but they were very safe hands, dealing with my project and my incessant questions like every week. They're very patient and kind. And I must say, even after completing the project in 2023, 2024, I'm still benefiting from the project because even when I started this post in the forestry department, I actually was doing the course before I came into this post last year. So, I was working for a different NGO, mostly in social issues. And so it's like, okay, when I stepped into the job, I became less nervous because um, I had information, I had resource materials stepping into my new job and portfolio. A matter of fact, when I entered the field course, which I got a scholarship, a 70% scholarship for the online version, and then I got a 50% scholarship for the field course. And a lot of my colleagues rallied around me to help make sure that I got the chance to attend the field course. And my classmates we collaborated on a different project that I had, which is a mangrove project. And so she took on that as her capstone project. And as a quid pro quo to me, as a favor to me, I didn't even know this was coming. She paid for my airfare to be able to attend the field course. Because I was up in the morning and late at night, just filtering information that would be culturally appropriate for the lived experience of Jamaica. And so the course is good for that because it helps persons, it's a peer-to-peer, and then the lecturers also transmit a lot of information. To this date, I'm also still benefiting from the program because the master's program, um, the master's program through Yale assigned different students, a group of students, to help build out the mechanics of the project a little bit further. And so no, I just had my first meeting with those list of master students just the last Friday. So the program, when you're benefiting, I think my closing statement here would be the program you're able to benefit it from not just the online, but I recommend the field trip as well because that's what I used to help design a national strategy for Red Plus. And then here am I post the course, having me being able to mentor a group of students from the master's program where there are certain outputs and deliverables that will enhance the planning around my capstone project. So the money is worth it. The money that you pay is worth it. The time that you invest into the program is worth it. It will pay off. I'll end there.
Thank you, Adrian, and to all our panelists for sharing. And yeah, the neat thing to hear is that with such an online program, you could feel like you're just logging in, you're working on your own. But we like participants who are very active, like you, Adrian, who are engaged in the topics, asking questions, and can really make it go from something that's online to being the start of many different opportunities to engage with each other during the program and afterward. So thank you. Our panelists have mentioned a few different things about their capstone projects. And Emmy presented a little bit about it earlier, that this is a major part of our certificate program. So from moment one, participants are encouraged to think about how the content they're learning applies to a specific landscape or region. And participants use this project and contents to practice the different strategic planning tools that they're introduced to during the year. And some participants are engaged in projects that directly relate to their work and their lives and on the ground in places where they live, but others live outside of the tropics or in cities or something, and they work on projects with partners or consulting with people on the ground to help build those connections and be able to expand on what they need to know so that then they can still get that applied experience. They can still practice using the tools, directing it to a specific location, and then being prepared to apply those skills after they finish the program in different contexts. So some of the most frequent questions we get about the program relate to the Capstone project. What is it like? What are some examples? So to give you all a glimpse into the projects, we've asked our three panelists to share about their projects. What did you focus on and why? And for those of you who finished the program already, how has your work on the project impacted you? And so we'll go in the opposite order this time. Let's start with Adrian. And Abby has some slides that Adrian shared so that we can accompany as you're sharing more about the specific project you used for your capstone. So go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, thanks very much, Julian. So as I mentioned before, my capstone project focused on beekeeping, sustainable tropical beekeeping, in the context of a small island state like Jamaica, who is trying to protect and resuscitate the forest. What the course was able to help me to do is build out more of an a holistic environmental conservation approach to a very specific community that has been affected by bauxite mining, which is Clapham St. Anne. And then, of course, how do I build out an urban beekeeping um, aspect of it? Which, because my beekeeping business started in CV Guards, where I actually currently live, which is what the community that I was talking about, with the air quality issues and how I would build out an urban forestry program. And then how do I help use that as a mechanic to build out the well-being and socioeconomic resilience of a community? If you can switch to the next slide, I only have like two more. So one of the strategies that I um, had in mind, but then helped the course helped me build out was um, how do I then monitor the particular ecosystem? Obviously, it would start out with assisted natural region, but then a part of that first restoration program is to do use drones to assess the ecosystem health because non-healthy ecosystem, forest ecosystem means that my bees won't do well. And then I rolled that into looking at the carbon sequestration potential of the forest around me, and then crafting a sustainable, equitable, local livelihood mechanism by which I bring in young people, train them, um, give them the bees and the equipment at a subsidized rate, and then they pump the production into the beekeeping social enterprise, which is that last pointer. Now, what does this mechanic looks like? Switch to the next slide very quickly. So the mechanic, the program was able to help me validate this particular mechanic that I've been prototyping different sections. So of course, I was able to refine the beekeeping manual to include more forestry related um, areas. So a more resilient forest means a more resilient society that can generate more environmentally friendly income, and then creating the beehives and then on selling it to the particular students that engage from both communities, whereby that would allow them to produce honey, wax, whatever, and then that's feed that back into the business. I believe and was able to validate this through the Capstone project that if we have persons livelihood tied to the ecosystem, they are more likely to protect it because they now see themselves as a part of the environment, as a part of the tropical ecosystem and tropical forestry. So yes, bauxite mining did take out a lot of the underpinning and the health matrix of the forest, but there is no reason why we can't rehabilitate it and then through equitable means. Equitable meaning you're considering both the environment and also the people that uses the environment. And so for me, the course itself, 1 year gave me a 1 year runway to focus on validating the environmental aspects that I had, so that when I go into a pitch competition, I have research validated data to back up my pitch. So when somebody's asking me a very hard knocking question, when I can pull on the research data and then use that as validation. And that's it from me. That was my capstone project.
Thank you, Adrian. I'll turn it over to Angelina to share about your capstone project and same questions. What did you focus on and why? And how has your work on the project impacted you?
Yeah, thank you, Jillian. So my capstone project was part of an ongoing process that has been initiated by the Environmental Conservation Department. So I actually worked on conservation and restoration of key valued floral species in the Atiwa Range Forest Reserve in Ghana, and then that came from a comprehensive study for biodiversity offset approach. So by way of a little bit background to my conceptual model, I use a conceptual model because I think that it sums up everything here. And then we could talk about everything from introduction to interventions. And so the Atiwa Range is an upland evergreen forest, so it's a key biodiversity area. And like I mentioned before, it's also a globally significant biodiversity area. And then also housing has a lot of biodiversity, housing over 900 vascular plant species, and then also over 200 birds, and then also the highest butterfly species, about 71 of them. It's a protected area equivalent to IUCN Category 4, providing protection through management intervention. So that means that there's a little bit of restrictions in terms of resource use, with exception of an NTF collections. But unfortunately, like any other forest reserve in the tropical regions, it's not free from perturbation. But so there are key floral species in this reserve that are affected by anthropogenic activities, some of which are vulnerable, critically endangered and endangered species. A typical one is that is actually the trigger for the offset program is Colabuziana, as seen in the target. And it's also a gold star species. So after a careful threat analysis, which you will all have the opportunity to do once you are enrolled, and a combination of literature review, the main drivers identified in this particular reserve were illegal mining, illegal farming, and then illegal logging. And there were other threats, but these were the main ones. So my project vision was to have a restored habitat in the Atiwa Southern Extension Forest Reserve. So this is the specific area. I couldn't show the map, but this is the specific area where the interventions, I prescribe interventions for with regards to my capstone projects. And it covers an area of about 126 kilometers square, and its buffers. And then also to achieve a lasting preservation of high species diversity and richness, sustaining the ongoing provision of ecosystem services, and also to enhance human well-being. So in essence, the conceptual model illustrates all causal chains, including direct and indirect factors, as you can see in the dark yellow. So these strategies are designed to address the three primary targets: that's restoring degraded patches with key biodiversity value species, and then also enhancing provisioning and regulatory service and promoting sustainable livelihoods and well-being. I would say that the success in this area will lead to the ultimate vision of restoring the ecological integrity and improving human well-being as well. So in summary, I would say that key restoration strategies were proposed specifically for the degraded portions of the southern part of the Atiwa Forest. And then one of them is assisted natural regeneration and a more active intervention, such as enrichment planting, as seen in the bright yellow hexagon. And these prescriptions were given depending on the site context, and then also agroforestry for offset areas to control soil and enhance soil fertility as well. So example, enrichment planting was proposed for areas that recorded low regeneration potential due to direct threats such as illegal mining, logging, and then farming. And so these areas had low regeneration potential. So if we say it has low regeneration potential, for example, you could have like 200 species per hectare for that kind of forest. Then that means that you have to actively come in with interventions and restore key species that are critically endangered or going on extinction. And some of these species are also specialists, and I should say they are shade tolerant and they grow under shade. And so without specific interventions, they probably will not grow on their own. So this was also essential to enhance alpha and beta diversity of the specific habitats. And then assisted natural regeneration was also proposed for areas with high seed rain. That means that there will be removal of non-targeted species to promote the growth of desired species while protecting existing desired plant species. And then also, of course, we did a little bit of monitoring, and so we established PSPs, what we call permanent sample plots, that was for growth monitoring. So in essence, the main rationale for my project was to enhance the stock level of targeted species of high conservation concern, whilst enhancing the livelihood options for French communities that also depends on the forest. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina. And yeah, the whole graphic you see there looks like one thing that Angelina's put up on the screen, but really it's the result of a year's worth of work digging into practicing the exercises, building out that situation model, and looking at the backing it up with the research and the concepts and analysis that go into every single box and arrow that she presented. So I was about to call on Alexia, but I see she's dropped. So before I hope oh, here she comes back in. Okay, great. Hi, Alexia. We were about to call on you to see whether you could share a bit about your capstone project. And while we're getting the slides up, also you worked as a partner with another participant. If in that process you could share a little bit about that process of selecting not only a project but also having a partner in the program.
Bueno, yes, of course. I can start talking about my partnership with Marisol Michiló. That was a great decision. Marisol and I share the same goal. We want to join forces and create positive impact in Mayo River. We both are used to working hand in hand with Quechua and Mestizo leaders. We have the same background and mapping with indigenous communities. But Marisol brings her valuable expertise in watershed conservation from Puno, while I contribute my knowledge from Andean Amazonia. And she's very passionate about environmental justice and emphasizes the essential role of women in territorial planning. So her activism is so important to break today's patriarchal systems in Amazonia, in Peru. So our relationship is very open communication, mutual respect, which help us understand these complex social issues of our CP. So our project title is Mayo Project Quechua Forest Dynamics for Community-Based River Restoration in the Peruvian and then Amazonia, a very long title. In next image, please, Adi. The left map shows our site in Northeast Andean Amazonia, specifically the Mayo River watershed in the San Martin region. The larger map shows that 25% of its territory is protected by regional government. These are the dark green areas. So instead of the protected pre-montane forest, we focus on the working lands of the Mayo River, the orange cycle in the map. So divided by a road, Carretera Marginal de la Selva, that triggered deforestation to the region. But it's also a home to 2,500 farmers practicing mainly subsistence agriculture. So we are addressing riparian tropical dry forest ecosystems connected to Lamas and Tarapoto cities. You can see the cities there, and it's very near to Cordillera Escalera, the ancestral Quechua territories. So we work with Mestizo and native Quechua communities in Mayo Central. Next image. Our baseline map shows that Mayo Central is a fragmented landscape due to 6 decades of deforestation, driven by very complex economic, political, social processes, historical processes. You can see that indigenous Quechua Lamas practice subsistence agriculture and tree-based systems coexist with mestizo agriculture, which focus more in commercial crops and cattle pastures. But today, farmers have unpredictable temperature changes, weak soil fertility, increased vulnerability to floods, landslides, increment of commercial crops, pastures, water contaminations. It's a lot, all threatening sustainable land management livelihoods. Next image, please. So, with Marisol, we co-produced a vision for Mayo Central with indigenous partners and leaders from Mestizo and Quechua communities. We envisioned that community networks practicing subsistence agriculture could represent a biocultural model for river landscape stewardship and Quechua's frugivorous forest regeneration over 4,000 hectares of tropical dry forests and agricultural medicinal tourism for the benefit of future generations. So the Mayo project is a 5-year project entirely led by the community network. We'll focus on reclaiming ancestral river rights while managing subsistence farming sustainably, ensuring food security, and passing on the traditional knowledge Quechua through medicinal tourism to future generation, that meanwhile, increasing soil fertility, water conservation, creating second growth forest connectivity, decreasing commercial crops and grazing, while creating alternative jobs that are very, very important. So we came up to 3 main strategies. You can see in the map, sustainable indigenous land management for secondary succession, soils and watershed conservation. Sorry, English is my second language. And we propose essential activities such as assisted natural regeneration and enrichment planting in riparian corridors. We also put in practice what we learned from the strategies course, agroforestry systems, and silvopastoral systems in farmer parcels, and nursery development as field schools, which will increase, we think, second growth forests by 20% and yield productivity by 30%, impacting food security and nutrition. Our second strategy is the agricultural, medicinal, and educational tourism that will emphasize women leadership in non-timber forest products, particularly native palms and honey, incremental capacity building through equity marketing support, and a lot of community training. You can see in the map, part of the strategy, that walking trails are designed to share for environmental knowledge exchange with visitors. And our last strategy is environmental sovereignty, because we think that adaptation limitation stem from capacity building and knowledge transfer from elders to youth, no? So effective local governance relies for us on community obtaining tenure rights to riparian forest. So leaders must demonstrate to the regional government of San Martin the sustainable management of their agricultural landscapes, questioning the current official landscape classification of anthropogenic degraded landscape. That is not fair at all. So for us, restoring tropical dry forests relies on Mayo River stewardship by this community network. Forest landscape restoration success, I think, hinges on bottom-up approach, leadership building, community participation over time, focusing on farmer demonstration trials. You can see the different plots, farmers' plots. We identify the families we are working with, the strategies. And the final slide, Avi. So I can say that the ELTI program really strengthened our relationship with the leaders. No? They are co-authors of this project. This experience for us was a meaningful cultural exchange until now. Thank you to ELTI program for prioritizing, I think, ethics and democracy in these times during the learning process, and for generously building capacity on us in such a supportive environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexia. And so neat to see the example of where some of the exercises participants do on their own and then bring to different communities, and some of the exercises set you up to then do participatorily with the communities and then input those into or in other stakeholders and input that into the assignments and get feedback. So yes, so we are right at our time. We've been going through and answering a lot of your really excellent questions in the Q&A feature in written form. So please take a look at those. I think they should be visible to everyone to see the questions there. I see Angelina's replying to one of the questions there for her, so that's wonderful. We're just right about at time. What we're going to do is hand it back to Abby to talk about how how to apply. So if you want to learn more about that process, stick around. But we also know we're right at the hour. So if our guests need to leave, we just want to extend a really big thank you to Angelina, to Alexia, and to Adrian for coming and sharing your wisdom today, sharing about the projects you're doing. I know as a team member, we're doing this for you all, and it's just such a special experience to see how you're thriving and implementing everything you're learning. So thanks again for joining us.
All right, great. Thank you. And yeah, thank you again to all of our panelists. It's really fascinating to hear about each of your unique experiences and motivations for joining the program. All right. So again, like Jillian said, I'm going to take just a few minutes now to go through some tips on how to apply, a review of some of the timing. But before that, I do want to share with you the poll results from earlier. So we did have a couple folks joining us today who were just learning about the program. About 30% of you were still kind of on the fence about whether or not you're planning to apply. 40 are already planning on applying, and 24% of you are definitely applying. So that's really great to hear, regardless of your kind of status and thought process so far. We hope you enjoyed today's session and got something out of it. For those of you who are just learning about the program or still a little bit on the fence, I would encourage you, I'll share with you some upcoming learning sessions that we have that are more, there are coffee chats, so they're more one-on-one sessions. You can speak directly with myself, Emmy, or Jillian, ask any questions live, and it's a really great way to figure out if the program is a good fit for you. So I'd highly encourage you to sign up for those sessions. Beyond that, I will go over some more of the details on how to apply. First, again, is just a reminder, you have about a month and a half to submit your applications. Make sure you do that by March 28th. If you have any questions during that process, please email us at tropicalcertificate@yale.edu. We are more than happy to support you throughout this process. So again, you can apply and learn more details and review the application requirements at environment.yale.edu/certificate/tropical. We have a new website. We can share that link in the chat with you today. And again, make sure you review any application requirements in detail by March 28th. Specifically the program dates to make sure that works with your schedule, the curriculum and program details, the application requirements, and any technical requirements of participating in the program. So like I mentioned, application requirements is the online application form, the resume, a personal statement, and 2 short response statements, a scanned or electronic transcript, and 1 professional reference. Additionally, it's not required by any stretch, but if you feel like submitting any additional documentation of coursework or official TOEFL or IELTS test score reports would help support your application, you are welcome to do so. And lastly, just a few tips to consider before you start your application. First, be sure to review the requirements and begin gathering your materials early. Contact your professional reference ahead of time so they know that to be on the lookout for an email from us. Pay special attention to the essay requirements and be specific and personal when answering. This goes for both the main application essays and the scholarship essays. And lastly, as I already mentioned, please contact our team at tropicalcertificate@yale.edu if you have any questions, technical issues, or other concerns during the application process. So like I mentioned, we have our upcoming coffee chats. Our next one will be February 21st at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or March 5th at 12:00 p.m. All of these dates are on our website. We can share the link with you in the chat. Just one moment.
I'll share the links. Oh, you got it.
Thank you, Jillian. Sorry. And again, visit our website, join our mailing list, or let us know if you have any questions or concerns at our email. All of those links are in the chat. And lastly, I know I mentioned it a few times in the chat earlier, this recording will be live on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if there's anything you missed, if there's anything you want to revisit or hear more from our panelists, please check out our YouTube channel there. And with that, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you again to our panelists today for sharing their insights about the program. We hope to see your application soon. Take care, everyone.